For you guys at the Ford Foundation, what does orienting around outcomes mean? And how does that change the way you work?
Well, I think you are right to identify the challenge as a systems problem. I mean, I think the systems that we have constructed produce these bad outcomes. I mean, so what the book, I mean, the wonderful essays and it's excellent work. This book is really terrific. But the problem diagnosis is a result of a set of systems that have been constructed to produce these bad outcomes. And so I can speak, I mean, I've both been a government contractor at Abyssinian and now at Rockefeller and Ford. I can speak to two systems. So the system, the sort of philanthropic system in this country that we have constructed is very interested in the aspiration and the rhetoric of the aspiration. But the actual execution of what it takes, we really aren't, because it means loss of control. It's much better, if you want control, to do project grants. Because when you do a project grant, you basically are contracting with a nonprofit to do what you want to do. And that's a different form of engagement, and that is a different way of thinking about a systemic response to a problem than saying, I want to invest in your vision for ending homelessness. Your vision for ending homelessness, which is a much larger aspiration and metric than my project, which is narrowly tailored to meet a set of outcomes that I've decided are important as a foundation. And so I think the challenge for philanthropy is that we have to interrogate the way we do business. And I think it's very hard to get a group of very privileged people in a very privileged sector to interrogate their own behavior with authenticity. It's very easy to get us to do it in essays in Chronicle of Philanthropy and at the Council on Foundations Conference and all of these various fora. People will wring their hands, and we are incredible at theatrics. The like do it, like execute on it, you mean it, is a different story. Mm-hmm. And my own institution is a poster child for this very issue. I mean, moving, one of the things as we have created this new build strategy in which we're investing 40% of our grant making annually, well now it's more than 40, but in general support and capacity building, and most of my colleagues were supportive, but there were absolutely people who said things like, but you're going to take away my budget. Really? I'm going to take away your budget by demanding that you spend more of your budget on investing in capacity building. Because in some ways, I'm taking away some control, at least as a program officer sees it.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, and we're going to get back to this point about control and trust, because an outcomes-based system has to be one built on greater trust than we currently have. And perhaps there's a particular role for foundations who don't bear the political consequences of trust going wrong the way it does for government. So I wanted to come back to that. One point, though, many of us in the room appreciated in 2015 when you announced this new focus on supporting the core of organizations' ability to deliver outcomes rather than just project grants. You mentioned overhead as a charade with terrible consequences. Talk a little bit more about that particular part of why is it that keeping organizations accountable to low overhead costs makes it more difficult for them to be able to deliver on outcomes?
Well, I said it was a charade because it is a charade. I mean, I said it because we all know that it is a fiction that a nonprofit can deliver a project with 10% overhead. I mean, it's a fiction. It's simply not doable in most instances, and yet we have generalizable, standardized ways of saying, okay, this is overhead, 10%, or whatever the number is. And what I wrote in that essay was how we've all bought into this charade, because it allows us to not do the deeper work. And we absolve ourselves of the culpability of the damage we do to the system. And I think that is a reality, and I think it's highly problematic. But again, who's going to tell us no?